Chargers fans. The temperature in Los Angeles is officially set to high alert. There's quiet movement on the market that could change the offense, a roster maneuver hiding a bigger strategy, an unexpected loss that will spark debate, and a defensive tweak with instant special teams impact. Nothing's confirmed, but the signals are strong and the next few hours promise twists. Did the front office gamble too hard, or did it spot value everyone else missed? We've got a live one today. You won't believe what we've got lined up, so grab a seat, hit that like button, and let's dive straight into the news. There's a name back in the Los Angeles rumor mill, the type that sets off instant debate, a veteran who produced at his peak but now comes wrapped in question marks. The conversations are quiet, the phone calls are happening behind the scenes, and the question is simple: is the right risk at the right price worth it to juice third downs right now? When the front office targets this profile, it's a sign the plan is to speed up execution in the short and intermediate game. And let's be honest, if the staff is sniffing around, it sees room to tweak the offense without handcuffing the future. The rumored target is Deonte Johnson, released by Cleveland and reassessing the market. Sources describe the Chargers' interest as exploratory, with the front office weighing three pillars before taking any step: cost, role, and schematic fit. The resume still speaks loud: 1,161 yards in 2021, 20 touchdowns over his first 3 seasons in Pittsburgh, and a short to intermediate separation profile that keeps drives alive on third and manageable. The recent context matters: brief stops with the Panthers, Ravens, and Browns in 2024, and fluctuating efficiency that demand a clearly defined usage plan to unlock value early. The most likely path? A low-risk deal packed with snap and production incentives, starting with a competitive rotational role and room to expand as chemistry and consistency show up. That structure fits the team's priority to preserve cap flexibility for surgical adds through the first month. On the field, Johnson helps in the slot and outside, winning on crossers and quickouts and creating yards after the catch that accelerate tempo, stabilize play action, and take heat off the quarterback on third and short. But there are cautions. Catch point consistency and red zone impact remain internal debates, especially to avoid redundancy with pieces already in the room. There's no point stacking the same route profiles if finishing power is missing. So far, there's no visit scheduled and no formal offer. The expectation is Johnson will compare environments, realistic snap volume, and opportunity before deciding. If talks advance, the Chargers are expected to prioritize a short prove-it deal that keeps the 53 flexible and leaves room to adjust during the opening weeks. What does this change for the season? If they take the swing, the offense adds an instant separator for third and medium, something that steadies drives, extends time of possession, and protects the defense. Fans are split. One side sees low cost and a fit with upside. The other worries about drops and stop-start production. Strategically, it makes sense to test the ceiling without locking up the future, especially with a young receiver room that could benefit from a functional veteran to accelerate development. Bottom line, Johnson is on the radar. The schematic fit works in specific packages, and the cost looks manageable. And while we're tracking that, buckle up. The next twist of the day shakes the board in Los Angeles even more. There's a behind-the-scenes maneuver that confused plenty of people, but actually showed the front office's cold-blooded strategy. The scene opens on final cuts to 53, when one name jumps out: Eric Rodgers, a preseason sensation, kept on the roster even after what looked like a serious injury against the Saints. Fans were pumped, believing the corner would be ready for Week 1. The truth was different. The Chargers were playing chess while everyone else was watching checkers. 24 hours later, the pivot Rodgers hit injured reserve, out at least 4 weeks, and veteran linebacker Del'Shawn Phillips slid onto the active roster. Sounds simple? It's a lot more layered. The Chargers had no remaining IR designated to return slots at cutdown. Josh Harris and Dean Leonard already filled the 2 available. The alternative was to cut Rodgers and try to bring him back on the practice squad, which carried real poaching risk. After seeing Trikweze Bridges get picked up by the Cowboys despite a rough camp, counting on Rodgers to clear waivers felt naive. By keeping Rodgers on the initial 53 and only then moving him to IR, the front office protected a rising talent and bought time to survey the waiver wire. It was a containment move, nearly invisible to anyone scanning the surface. The result? Rodgers remains part of the plan, locked in to return when healthy, and the roster adds Phillips without losing human capital in the process. And about Phillips, he arrives at a moment of urgency. With Junior Colson out for the season following shoulder surgery, the Chargers carried only 4 linebackers on the 53. Unsustainable. Phillips brings experience and instant special teams value, an area that needed shoring up. Fans, of course, split again. Some see the maneuvering as pure savvy. Others see risk in stretching the IR timing to the limit. No one can deny the move protected assets and preserved flexibility. In the end, this is a classic case of how every cut hides a larger play. It wasn't just about Rodgers, it was about insulating the entire roster from unnecessary losses. And if you thought that alone was surprising, hang on, because what happened next was even harder to swallow. The next punch landed squarely with the fan base. On paper, the Chargers had a plan to protect pieces like Rodgers. In practice, they let useful talent slip away. The waiver wire became a headache. 3 players who flashed were scooped up by other teams, exposing how costly every roster decision can be. Ricorium Sanders was the first blow. The running back became a fan favorite this offseason, an ultra-popular UDFA with physicality and pop, showing flashes of a rotational piece. But by choosing to carry only 3 running backs on the initial 53, prioritizing Hassan Haskins and Najee Harris, the staff took a gamble. The Browns didn't hesitate and claimed Sanders. That's a hit not only to immediate depth, but to medium-term potential. Then came Tre'Quez Bridges. Yes, the defensive back had an uneven camp, but at 6'2" with developmental traits and 7th-round pedigree, there was a strong argument for patience. The Chargers opted to keep 2 UDFAs, Nico Reed and Eric Rodgers, instead. The Cowboys pounced on Bridges. For a team that historically deals with injuries in the secondary, that choice is already fueling heated debate. And as if that weren't enough, De'Lavon Campbell, who turned heads all summer with steady play, didn't survive the squeeze either. The staff carried only 6 wideouts, leaning toward Darius Davis. The consequence was immediate. The Panthers moved quickly to add Campbell. That's one more speed option gone and one more missed chance to deepen the rotation. Add it up, and the criticism rings loud. The cutdown plan proved expensive. Harbaugh and company gambled that these names could slip to the practice squad untouched and misread the market. Now the recovery plan depends on targeted additions and internal development. Strategically, the approach showed boldness, but it also revealed the margin for error of a front office, still searching for balance between veterans and ascending youth. The fan reaction speaks for itself. Some accept that hard choices are baked into a structural reset. Others want clearer long-term vision and worry rivals will harvest the fruits of players who could have been in powder blue and gold. That emotional divide is where the tension lives. When risk doesn't pay off, patience gets tested. And the plot wasn't done. One more move hit the heart of the fan base, bringing us right back to Eric Rodgers and a familiar defensive name. This is where the story got even more emotional. Just when it looked like everything had settled, another twist hit involving Eric Rodgers and linebacker Del'Shawn Phillips. Rodgers, the same rookie UDFA who lit up preseason with 2 interceptions and a pick-6 against the Saints, is now officially on injured reserve without a designation to return. Translation, his 2025 season is over before it starts. That's a gut punch, because the kid showed enough in very few snaps to earn the staff's and the fans' trust. And here's the part that reframes the narrative. The front office kept Rodgers on the initial roster specifically to avoid losing him on waivers. They protected him from rival eyes, but now, with confirmation he won't be back this year, the frustration naturally rises. The fan base is split between praising the long-term vision keeping Rodgers in the system for 2026 and criticizing the lack of clarity around his true medical outlook. Plenty of people were already dreaming about contributions this season. In his place, the team closed the loop with Phillips, a veteran linebacker built for emergency duty and immediate special teams help. It's not a headline signing, but it stabilizes a thin rotation. Since Nick Neiman departed, signing with the Texans before getting cut and landing on the Packers practice squad, the Chargers have been looking for someone who could fill that role. Phillips already had a stint with the franchise, and in this moment he brings the trust of a plug-and-play pro who won't blow assignments. Strategically, it's a containment move. The defense adds bodies, special teams can breathe a bit, and the front office signals it won't allow critical spots to remain exposed. At the same time, losing Rodgers this early stings. The emotional impact is real. When a UDFA captures attention with that kind of spark, it creates a natural hope for a season-long Cinderella arc. What's clear is the front office is playing the long game with Rodgers. They know they've got a gem in rehab and have zero interest in letting him slip away. For 2025, the absence hurts. For 2026, he could arrive ready to fight for a permanent role. And that leaves the question that won't leave fans' heads. Will these short-term bets and patience with injured young players pay off when the season tightens? Only time will tell. The season hasn't even kicked off, and we're already riding the full Chargers roller coaster. In just a few days, we've had rumors that could reshape the offense, calculated moves to protect talent, gambles that backfired on the waiver wire, and a tough call on Eric Rodgers that hit the fan base right in the feelings. All of it says the Chargers are playing chess on a board full of risk and opportunity. But will this strategy hold when the schedule gets real? Now I want to hear from you. Do these choices make the team stronger or weaker? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe because we're living every chapter of this journey together.